Hey, everybody. This is William J. McKay. I'm one of the co-hosts of this show. I came up first today, which doesn't happen very often. I am a equity actor and a member of the Actors Studio, and this is
John Kenrick. I am the creator of musicals101.com, host of I'll Say, working with my good friend Bill. I am a musical theater historian and longtime professional who still can breathe and talk about having survived it all. And today we have a very special episode and a very special guest that we'll be talking to. Let me bring up some info on this amazing guy. Juanjo Gonzalez Pascual is head of the Spanish regional section of BroadwayWorld.com since January of 2010. He's produced several Broadway World Award ceremonies from 2011 to 2015. He is part of the Teachers Board at Escuela TAI in Madrid and is a musical theater history teacher. Gee, I wonder why we get along so well. He's also part of a wonderful web education site called Go Broadway, where I've also had the honor of lecturing. He recently he is preparing productions of several plays and musicals with his production company, La Coja. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Producciones. And he recently produced the Spanish version of Adam Gown's Ordinary Days in Madrid. Here, well, we're going to be watching a bit of that shortly. But let me take that away and introduce Juanjo and bring up a better picture so we can all see each other. Juanjo, welcome to
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're in Ibiza. We are so jealous, but hey, I'm in Jersey, Long Island. We're all in different resorts.
Where is that? Even though I know the answer to this, where are you, Juanjo?
It's in Spain. I am close to Spain, but in an island. It's in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. So although it doesn't look like that, I'm there. I'm not lying.
Which means, John, that you and I are now international.
Hey, you know,
I'm so excited.
The cosmopolitan way to go. Okay, we have a brief scene from Ordinary Days in its Madrid production. Let me bring that up.
Hey, me llamo Warren. Y aunque ser hombre invisible puede ser un gran poder, no me ayuda demasiado cuando quiero destacarles la destreza de este autor visual. Pronto no comprendo qué hay que hacer ahora. Yo quiero ser de aquellos que no saben avanzar. La gente se merece desaparecer. Porque estoy aquí. Cada día que quieras que esté junto a ti, yo estoy listo. Sé que nunca en mi vida querré nada más. Y aunque suene infantil, tú eres justo el perfil de mi amor. Intentamos sistemar los que descienden volando de color en el cielo, giran dando vueltas en vez caer, los descender, los descaer.
Wow. Just wow. That is professional quality theater.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, you didn't start out looking to produce, did you?
Nope, not at all. I have to admit, actually, I studied medicine, so I'm a doctor.
Wait, you are a doctor?
I am a doctor, yeah.
Doctor of medicine.
Of medicine, apart from producer, journalist, and all that. Yeah.
Wow.
I got to ask you about this pain I'm having in my head.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Wow.
Wow.
So what made you make the transition from medicine into theater? How did that happen for you?
Well, all the time since I was a little kid, I always saw the movies, the Disney movies, musical movies. I was obsessed with the soundtracks. But not with musical theater.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, I planned a trip to New York with my brother, and I had already listened to some musicals,
Right.
but Rent and Wicked were there, and I saw them in 2015, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And from there on, I started with a website that I created that was Palco Cinco, which means box 5, because I've always loved, you guess what, Phantom of the Opera. And I did that website, and from then on, in 2010, I went to, the trip to New York was 2005, and 2010 I did Broadway, Spain, and from then on, while I was studying medicine.
Wow.
So that was the
Wow.
transition.
Wait, so did you finish school doctoring? Yeah, doctor.
Yeah.
So
I
what was your
finished-
family's reaction when you said, "That's nice," and now instead I'm going to be a actor? You're going to be an actor?
No, a journalist.
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 And
But
what
I
was your family's reaction?
Yeah, they always had the fear that I would be losing time and money and effort, but I combine both jobs, so
Okay.
that I could do, and I've always put all the efforts and all my energy on the theater side. So
Are you
that's why-
Are you a doctor now?
Yeah,
Oh, you see patients and the whole thing.
yeah,
Oh.
everything. Yeah,
Wow.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a pretty busy man.
Hmm.
See, and this is what we're trying to bring through to people through these interviews that we're going to be doing. There are so many ways to build a life in and
Of
out
course.
of show business.
Yes.
It was in the 1960s that someone at Actors Equity first calculated that only about 6 to 9% of Actors Equity members made a living from their union related work.
Wow.
That's infinitesimal. It's certainly no better now, and it might be even smaller.
Even
So
smaller,
most of the people who've had careers in theater had to do something else.
Yeah, the day
and-
job.
Yeah, they had to pay for those bills.
But they weren't doctors. I
No,
can assure you.
but
Although
doctors
there are.
rare. Yes. You may know, I'm sure, well, Juanjo, it may not surprise you. There was a dentist who wrote musicals.
Really?
If you've ever seen Bells Are Ringing,
Yes.
there's a running joke in it. One of the characters is a dentist who writes musicals using his air hose to make up melodies. Well, that was based on a real composer who was a Brooklyn dentist. He wrote a couple of Broadway musicals, one of which was an Ethel Merman show called Happy Hunting, 1956.
Yeah.
And some of the songs in it are very good, but the show has never had a future without Merman. So once she finished doing it on Broadway, it kind of disappeared. But so a doctor who is also a musical theater journalist.
That's it. Yeah.
And so what was the thing that made you want to start writing about theater?
Because even not only with the journalist thing, also with producing, I asked myself what I would like to see on internet about musical theater. This, Palco Cinco, Box 5, I do it. And from then on, Broadway World Spain, because I came to Robert Diamond, the head of BroadwayWorld.com in New York, with the same question. Is there anyone taking care of Broadway World Spain? There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to do. There's so many people like me who wants to know about news, about covering not only what happens in Spain, but also what happens in London and New York. So I started doing that. I started making people know that there's an industry there, a niche there, so there's a lot of money that you can do there. So I started doing that. And apart from that, I started doing and producing shows like concerts and award shows, because nobody was doing that. So I show my place there.
You very kindly have said what, with how much you admire what I've done in the past. That's how I created musicals101.com. Back in 1996, when I did it, there was nothing on the internet about musicals except stuff that was looking to sell VHS, which is what things were still back then. The new thing, DVDs, or maybe they were selling CDs like cast recordings, but there was nothing out there about what musicals are, where they came from. And that's when I started with 40 pages on a free server called GeoCities back then. And then from 40 pages, it's now grown to 800, and it's the child I never had.
And we used to watch the viewership or whatever, the what we call it, the numbers. Used to watch the numbers grow on his site, and I was I had a story on it too, so I'd watch my numbers grow, but it was his. I was like, John, look at this, what is happening?
But people is eager to know about that, because it's like when a new production of Sound of Music comes to Spain. It's like it's the first time. No, it's been done like 5 times, and for me, I see that in the States, there's it's something sacred. It's like something that you admire and look up to, and you worship it, and you know who did it first, and you know all about it. So people should take care of what's been done here, not to say like an ignorant that you are the first one to do it,
No, I always tell my students when I teach my course, one of the reasons you study musical theater history is so that when you're talking to people who know, you will not sound like a fool.
That's it.
You don't want to be the one who says, "Oh, I just love Jerry Herman's Phantom of the Opera." That's not going to make you look good. Or I've been in conversations where people have said, "Oh God, didn't you just hate that show? It was the worst thing last year." And the person who either wrote or produced that show is sitting on the other side of the table.
Yes.
And you don't want to be the one to break that to people. Guess what? Your foot is now in your mouth. Now, so was the first musical that really excited you? So it was Rent and Wicked. That was what got you?
Rent and Wicked on Broadway, but I had seen like 6 years before. I saw in Madrid the first production of Beauty and the Beast, and I always say that with the number of Be Our Guest was like, okay, so that can be maybe Broadway, something like that. And it was huge. It was like all the spectacle in your head. Yeah, so it blew my mind.
Yeah. So did they do the Disney production there? It was with all the special effects and all the razzmatazz.
Yeah. When it first came in 1999, it was the same exact production of 1994, which was at the Palace, I think, in Broadway, right?
Oh, yes.
Good God. You know, the two of you need to be locked in a room someplace and just
Yeah. No, I have to say, no, he mentioned
that's where it was, but wow.
He mentioned Go Broadway, and when I started giving classes on Go Broadway, I saw that he was also doing that in English, and I said, oh my God, I read his book before I prepare my classes. So it's like my idol. He's my idol.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm going to be impossible to live with for the rest of the day. It's
so you really liked Rent, huh?
Now, Juanjo, you may not know. You probably do know. I worked on Rent. I was assistant to the producers, and I hated it. Part of it was it's just not my style of show. And part of it was I was raised in my Italian, my mother's side of the family is Italian. So we listened here in America in the 1960s when I was growing up. Every Saturday, the Metropolitan Opera had a live telecast on the radio. So my Sicilian grandmother, when it was anything by Puccini or Verdi, we're going to listen. So I heard La Boheme a lot.
La Boheme.
Right. And La Boheme was a favorite of mine from childhood. I do have to mention on the side, whenever they announced, and today Wagner's, the minute she heard the word Wagner, she'd go, Germanese, and turn it off. I was never allowed to hear Lohengrin as a child. I had to wait till I was a grown-up. I made up for lost time, though. That 25 hours of the Ring is a lot. But anyway, so I love La Boheme, and I and a dear friend I was working for Fran Weisler, and I was sent in her place to check out this new show that was workshopping down at the New York Theater Workshop. And we're sitting there, and the opening scene begins, you may remember, with a bit of dialogue at first, and then you heard Musetta's Waltz played on a rock guitar. And I looked at my friend and went, oh, God. Little did I know that a little more than a year later, I would be working for Jeffrey Seller and Kevin McCullum, and that show would literally take over my life. I had a very expensive tape deck that could make copies. When the budget didn't have money for us to make, copies of the demo tape, I would sit up until 2 or 3 in the morning running copies of the demo tape through the system.
After what you have said.
Wore out that deck. I had to throw it away. I cried when that thing died.
But Juanjo, why did you love it? Tell John why you loved it.
Oh, because I was so young and naive,
Wait, stop, Juan. You're allowed to like something. Juan. Okay, Juan. Let me make something clear, because you did not say that 20 minutes ago. You like Rent. It's okay to like Rent.
Okay,
you can't like
Rent.
Disney's Tarzan, please. But
No.
but the play. But you're allowed to like Rent. So you said that was like one of your big things. So what was it about it that caused you to so love the show and want to kind of give up doctoring?
Well, I unluckily I didn't give up doctoring. I still do doctoring, but I gave much more space and time to theater. And thanks to that, because Rent is, although John may not see like that, it's much more theater than other plays, and other musicals. It's very theatrical, the way that they treated this story, and it's very much, for me, it was about something that was done in its time. It very much to the audience that was sitting there, not for old people, for young people. It was like you can see yourself on stage, something like that.
Juan, you're allowed to say, you're allowed to like stuff. It's really wait till John and I discuss. I was going to say Dear Evan Hansen. I'm not 100% in love
I
with
also
it,
like that. Okay, I won't say that.
it is good.
I didn't hate it. I think
I liked it more than he did.
It's not my all-time favorite show. I don't know if I'm looking forward to seeing, a 16-year-old played by a 30-year-old man.
Again.
Poking hand. I don't mean to do that.
Rent was they thought, we need that original cast a decade later. No. That cast is old now. Bring in the new blood. And New Blood would have, luckily, the DVD version that preserved the stage production was
of Rent.
Yeah, I think was
better,
infinitely superior to the movie.
The movie. It's the closing performance.
A more vital cast.
It's the closing performance, right?
Yes,
which is also special in itself, and it is very, very good.
I think every great musical, every long-running show should be preserved at the last performance like that. A couple of Broadway shows have done that. Contact did that, and they telecast it live. When Nathan did his wonderful revival of The Man Who Came to Dinner, the final night was broadcast live and then released on DVD. And it's one of my, what a great theater DVD that is. Just watching Nathan at work is such fun.
John, I'm sure you know this, so you're about to go, Bill, I already know this. You know that, so I'm not treating like an idiot. You know that at the library, the Lincoln Center Library, that almost every single show has been recorded.
But you're not, unless you are a journalist or something like that, you're not allowed to.
You have to have some kind of proof, right?
Well, I could get either a professional or an academic reason to see it. As a teacher, I could assign any of my students to go see shows. If you've got a college ID, or a journalist's ID, you're in. You're
Equity
in.
card if you're going to be in the show, you're directing the show, and you want to look at it. It's absolutely wonderful. So I know what John is saying. For the public, we have a certain thing, and I would like to believe that someday, these will possibly be released. You know, that at one point they were looking for somebody, and then we have to get back to Juanjo. The library years ago was looking for someone whose job it would be to sit and watch every single one of them to make sure that they were in good shape before they would be sent over into the DVD process. And I went, oh, please hire me. They did not pick me.
Oh, yeah, no.
And I tried really hard. All right, back to our guest.
Yes, back to our guest. So of what's currently on Broadway other than Wicked, what shows get you excited? Which ones do you really love?
Oh, after I went with my brother, I have gone like every 2 years. So I saw Paris Le Pont Gypsy, which I loved. I loved Paris Le Pont Gypsy. I saw South Pacific. I saw King and I with Marin Mazzi. I loved her.
Oh, I saw her too. She was phenomenal.
She was phenomenal. She was phenomenal. For me, one of the best performances that I have ever seen, because she was so gracious. She was the most beautiful sound that ever came off a stage. So
and what a wonderful way to end, even though she didn't know that it was the end, what a wonderful final Broadway appearance that was.
When I read the news, I was like crying because I saw her like 1 year ago. It was like, how unfair.
For those who don't know, Marion Massey died.
Yes. She had a long battle with cancer. And everyone in the theater community was, rooting for her. And she seemed to be coming back so well. She took over the lead in the revival of King and I for a while, and was, as Juanjo said, she was dazzling in it. I will admit, I have an illegal pirate recording of it that someone gave me. She looks and sounds, it wasn't just my memory. She looks and sounds amazing. But and when she died, it was just as, wait a minute, what? She was fine. What happened? She was just on stage. What happened? And that's the difficult thing with her. I wish you could have seen her. I mean, maybe you did, when she took over in Next to Normal with her real life husband.
I saw Alice Ripley.
Alice Ripley was magnificent. Don't get me wrong, but seeing a real life husband and wife play those parts, it was riveting. They and even though I knew the ending, which I won't ruin here in case anyone hasn't seen it, when they got to that final scene and you suddenly realized who is truly in what situation, you heard the audience around me go, and I was doing it too. And wait a minute, I know this.
I know this in the
end. They were so good. It's and Patti LuPone. I will tell you, I've seen every Broadway Gypsy except Merman because I was in the cradle when she did it. But I saw everyone from Lansbury to the present, including when Linda Lavin took over.
Which one was your favorite?
No question, LuPone. No. I mean, Bernadette. I love Bernadette. I love Bernadette in anything. I've been loving her since at the start of my theater going life in '74. But LuPone just knocked it out of the park.
Do you think it's because Lawrence directed her, or
that certainly didn't hurt? It didn't. Lawrence's direction. He also had a hand in other productions, so he's always been there for the show. Yes. But what did it with LuPone was she had not only the dramatic but the vocal battery power. When Bernadette did it, she certainly had the power as an actress. She did not have the power as a singer. Her voice was a little rough at that point.
Cracky,
and she missed a lot of performances because of illness. Before her, Tyne Daly, oh my God, dramatically was out of this world. Vocally, Tyne Daly was passable, but she was not a great singer. Linda Lavin took over from Tyne Daly, and she had the vocal power. But surprisingly, although I've loved her in other things, her acting was a little misaimed. Maybe she just hadn't had enough rehearsal time. I saw Lansbury, and I was in awe as a kid. I did not see her do it on Broadway. I saw her do it at Westbury Music Fair a few years after she was on Broadway. you fell in love with her
Did I do
Rose.
that?
You loved her Rose. That might have been before you. I don't know, Bill. Did you? It's 74 is when she did it on Broadway.
Yeah, I'm so
73,
young.
74.
You know, was I alive in
She did
'74? I
it
did not
before
know.
Yes, you
Juanjo,
were.
right?
And
Thank
she,
you, Juanjo.
yes. And she was on and she was in Westbury around 76. Which is also the first place I saw Yul Brynner do The King and I before his endless revivals. That was his first ever revival of it. Now, did you ever consider performing, Juanjo?
Not at all. No,
Never-
I have a
never
lot of
interested you.
respect. A lot of respect for the stage and for all the professionals. So I don't want them to be ruined by me. No, not at all.
So
No.
you can't sing or act, or you don't
No.
think you'd
I don't
good
know
enough?
act, because I'm very dramatic, but I'm not a singer, not a singer, and not a dancer either. So I would be a stand-up comedian. Just that.
So now producing in Spain, how big is your audience base? How long of a run can a show hope for?
It depends on the title, the production, of course, like everywhere. But for example, here, bit by bit, we are getting an off Gran Via, which is like Broadway. Considering every difference, because I hate when people say like without a question, the Spanish Broadway. Wait, to consider something like the anywhere Broadway is more than just saying there's musicals. No, there's an industry, but we're getting there. That we have bit by bit of Gran Via scene, and every year we have like 5 musicals opening. This year, after the pandemic, we're having 10. So
that's good.
That's good, and people are very optimistic. So hopefully, crossing fingers, all of them pass after January. But here, to consider something succeeding is like 2 years. 2 years is being successful.
So you can manage a 2-year run. That is pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
How many theaters, buildings do you have? Wait, you're producing those 10 shows, right? You're doing those?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wish.
Good God.
No. I only did ordinary days. And I did some children's shows, but I have done the ordinary days was my first adult musical. No, in Madrid, we have like 12, 13 to say the most. We are building tents, like
Tents.
huge tents to do musicals. Kinky Boots is going to be performed in a tent,
Now, I'm sure it's a reinforced tent. I mean, it's got to be not. It's not
like
the typical
like the
tent.
one that they say they opened, Man of La Mancha. It said that it was open off Broadway, right? In a tent.
It wasn't quite a tent. I have a personal reason for explaining this. The original Man of La Mancha was supposed to open at Lincoln Center Theater at what is now the Vivian Beaumont. But there were delays in building Lincoln Center. The delay was they had filmed the movie West Side Story, and that threw the whole construction of Lincoln Center a year off schedule. So it was going to be an extra year before anything could appear at the Vivian Beaumont. It was still a hole in the ground. So they found some space down next in the New York University complex. And New York University was digging the foundation for a new law school. The engineering school, Stern is what it's called, the Stern building. And they said, look, we can put off finishing Stern for a while. Why don't you stick a temporary theater in this space? We'll let you have it for next to nothing. We have a Broadway show or two that will run here, and Lincoln Center Theater will be connected to NYU for a bit. So it was prestige for everybody. And the show that landed there, straight from Goodspeed Opera House, was Man of La Mancha. And it was a sort of a temporary amphitheater. It was like the Vivian Beaumont in shape. It was, like a Greek amphitheater indoors with a sort of a tin roof, not really a tent. And that whole when everything moved out and Man of La Mancha moved to a Broadway theater and the Vivian Beaumont happened up at Lincoln Center, then that became the Stern building. I used to teach in that building at NYU for a number of years. So I used to tell my students, you're in the space where probably right where we're standing right or sitting right now is where Man of La Mancha happened on the stage. It's amazing to see the history of where theaters have come and gone in New York.
Now, do you know that I passed by the theater where My Fair Lady opened, and I say, it had to be a good theater. And after that, I read that it was a huge theater, now a church.
A church, right? Yes. That was also where Sugar Babies played for its very long run. So I saw many shows there over there. That is also where Legs Diamond played, Bill, a show you and I survived a preview of. Legs Diamond was one of the really deadly disasters that we've ever sat through.
It was worse than Carrie.
No. Unlike different. Carrie, it actually had some cheerful songs in it. Carrie, which I saw, was every bit as bad as everyone says. And when everyone tells you, we've got to give Carrie another chance, tell them to get better medication, because no.
I will prescribe.
Legs Diamond was Peter Allen's show. Peter Allen was the one-time husband of Liza Minnelli, famous for his Radio City Music Hall shows with the Rockettes, very flamboyant. He was gayer than A Day in May. And in this show, he plays the real-life deadly gangster Legs Diamond, who was a real person. And the opening number, which you probably know from Boy from Oz, is When I Get My Name in Lights. Mm-hmm. They added that during previews in New York. Bill and I were at one of those previews. And the number is so joyful and was so beautifully staged and was so exciting. The audience blew out of their seats at the end, just cheering. And I looked in Bill and I forget which one of us said, maybe this won't be so bad after all, because we had the word of mouth was terrible. But from there, it just went through the floor and never came back. It was a mess. What's the worst show you've ever seen, Juanjo?
I know that you were going to ask. Well, I have two. American Psycho.
Oh.
Or Big Fish.
Ooh.
Big Fish? Really? But the score. I haven't.
No.
I didn't see Big Fish, but I thought the score was nice.
I've also seen Little Mermaid, for example, which was really nasty, really bad. But
great score, but ugly show. Yeah.
It's an
ugly show. That was what with the skates, right? Didn't they have skates? And
yes.
Come on, don't get me started. I think that if Tarzan was bad, Little Mermaid did Tarzan better. I mean, like, you could go see first Tarzan. Yeah.
Actually, I have seen one musical that was worse than Carrie. Dance of the Vampires. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh yeah, I have to say that it's curious because when it comes to Europe, it's a hit.
It was it started in Europe. It was a huge hit in Hamburg. Is where it started.
It's still there.
Well, yeah, and it came here.
It's still playing after all these years?
Oh yeah, things in Hamburg.
When it is not in Hamburg, it's in Bayern, all over Europe. You don't understand why, but it's still
because people are allowed to like things that we don't.
It's because of Total Eclipse of the Heart, which is a huge popular song. A big hit song does a lot for a show. Now, keep in mind, the Broadway version was not the show that you see in Europe.
Exactly.
It had two problems. One, they brought in John Rando to direct it. Now, he had just done Urinetown, and Urinetown is an act of genius. It was magnificent, but it's a farce. So here you're taking a show that is part operetta, part farce, and you're trying to turn it into, and they never made up their mind what show they were doing. Because what they also were saddled with was Michael Crawford in the lead, and Michael Crawford by that point was utterly arthritic. He walked around stage looking like, I don't know if you've ever saw Richard Burton in anything. I saw Richard Burton do a couple of shows toward the end of his life, and he was utterly arthritic on stage.
Oh God!
It was like Lurch in the Addams Family. And so you've got you've got you've got
Richard
the former
Burton.
Phantom of the Opera, and everything he did. I don't know if he was in pain or if he was just trying to do that as he was playing a vampire. His one good scene was in Drag. Boy, when you have to resort to drag to get one laugh out of an audience, you're pushing it. But it was a very messed up show, just all across the floor. We want to ask you a set of questions before we get to current events.
Good.
Oh, we're doing that. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Now, why don't you tell us about those questions, Bill, since you have some background.
So, being a member of one of the graduating classes from the Actors Studio Drama School, every other Monday night, James Lipton, we had a class that we were required to attend, and he would interview major stars, and it was taped on television. So we had to be there at 6:30. The taping began and reached around 7:50 to 7:30, and depending on who it was, it went for several hours, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 4, depending usually if the person was chatty or not. And then at the end, meaning Lipton, liked to ask certain questions. And here we are about to start this thing. And it's almost so sacred to me that when John said, we're going to be doing the questions, I kind of went, oh, I don't know if I really want to do this, but we're going to do it. And I'm also concerned because, again, the next interviewee is me. So I'm, concerned about it. It almost seems sacred because it just seems sacred. But anyway, he based these questions on a talk show person called Bernard Pivot, Pivot or something like that, who would ask these questions. And Lipton liked them so much that he would ask these same 10, I think, questions every single week during our class. Now, by the time I was cohort 3, it means I was the third 5. I was the 5th group there. So therefore, most of the actors at that point knew the questions were coming and knew what the answers were. But why not? You don't know what the questions are, which is going to make this particularly fascinating for you. Okay? And we're going to ask you some favorite things. And I would ask, if at all possible, like the first thing I'm going to give you a second is, what is your favorite word? You can say the Spanish form of it, but you have to tell us what it means in English. Okay? Okay, so what is your favorite word?
Well, I would go. I say a lot. Maravilloso, which is like wonderful. Yeah, I say it a lot.
Okay,
I say it a lot. Maravilloso.
What is your least favorite word?
Inútil. Useless. I hate it.
Okay.
I hate when someone calls it someone else inútil. It's like, please, some respect. I hate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What turns you on? I know that's vague, but
really?
Yeah. You can. I don't want to lead you. So
What turned me on? Intelligent people.
right. So there you go. It is not necessarily something sexual.
Right.
And to be honest, most actors, I don't remember. I don't think most of them said anything sexual.
Right. No. What turns you off?
Rude people.
What sound or noise do you love?
The sea.
Oof. What sound or noise do you hate?
People doing things with the mouth, like, or people chewing in the underground subways. Like, come on, please, keep your mouth shut. Please.
One of the most favorite questions of the audiences, and always a censor problem, because Inside the Actors Studio did air on a cable television, but one where words had to be edited if need be. What is your favorite curse word? Yet you can say whatever it is. You can
say whatever it is. It's permitted.
Yes. Gilipollas, which is asshole.
Okay.
Oh, please. You went for a mild one. Okay, you're good.
What profession other than your own current professions would you like to attempt?
Computer, I don't know how, engineer, computer engineer. Yeah.
Why?
I love them. I love computers and technology. I love it.
Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
Lawyer.
Ooh.
Which my brother is, so.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you enter?
Okay, so I will forget this and this and this that you did. Please come in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, John, we're going to do 2 more only because I want to try them out. John and I are thinking of doing different questions. There's 2. These are, I believe John came up with them. If you freed a genie, what would your 3 wishes be?
Oh. The first one, more memory. I mean, like more memory space, which I forget a lot. 2, to be quicker in response, which I'm a little slow. And 3, to be free to move in time, to go past and future. I will see some Broadway shows, and John knows some of them.
I'd love to take you back to some of the great things I've seen over time. Oh yeah.
Please,
when
please.
John asked me in 2 nights, one of the questions, I have a thing that goes there. And one of the things, if John asked me the genie thing, you want to say, oh, world peace.
No, come on.
Well, they are nice things, but I'd be going, well, but what about me? And so I'm going to, I don't want to answer. All right. If you could have dinner with any person living or dead, who and why?
Ooh.
And you can have more than one there.
Oh. I would gather George Gershwin, Stephen Sondheim, and Cole Porter.
Oh, what a dinner!
Yeah. And I had a lot of questions to ask them, and
And serve alcohol. Serve a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
And I could see those 3 people getting along beautifully.
Of course. Yeah.
All right. Now, we'd like you to stay with us as we deal with some current events, the stuff that's been going on. First, something which I know you've enjoyed as much as we have is the series Schmigadoon. Here in the U.S., we just saw episode 5 last week, which included a number which I think you enjoyed as much as I did, Juanjo, Tribulation.
Of course.
The long-awaited solo from, a production number featuring solo by Kristen Chenoweth. Bill, did you love this as much as we did?
Yes. I mean, as I was watching it, well, what I've since learned, I think I knew before, but what we've since learned is that it was done in one take.
Yep.
And she meant it. And it was the reason she didn't want to do the show at first. I don't have a feeling that it isn't that she didn't want to do the show. It's just that we are dealing with COVID and she would have to fly to Canada and stay there. But she did the number in one take. And it is perfect. I would imagine she will. If who knows, Emmy nominations you can never figure out, but I would imagine she will have secured an Emmy nomination for the performance. Yeah. Well, I think the character is amazing. I love the character, so it isn't just because it's her, but the number was very, very good.
Now, Juanjo, I know you've already seen the final episode, so
excuse me. What? Like, how did you see it?
Yeah, remember, I'm a journalist. So
he's a journalist with Broadway World, man.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's the power of the Fifth Estate.
But still, that's it. Okay, I don't want, especially since we're going to see it this week, I don't want to know what the ending is. But still, interesting.
But I will ask one thing: do we get to see any more of Jane Krakowski in the last episode?
No,
no.
They'll bring her back.
Wasn't she brilliant?
She was
when
great.
Is she not? When is she not? She's always
amazing. And I knew that she was going to be like that character from Sound of Music.
Yes.
But this was over the top.
It was so good, though.
She is the greatest over-the-topper of all. I think you saw She Loves Me.
She Loves Me. When she did the trip to the library.
Oh, my God. I've seen some wonderful people do that part over the years. I saw Andrea Martin in that role. years
Really?
ago, and she was hilarious. She did it.
But with that part is not like the typical part for Andrea Martin. It's
No,
like,
but she did, and this is when she was much younger, and she was. If you thought she was brilliant in Pippin, believe me, she was brilliant in that production. I've seen many fine people do that part. Now, when I hear that song, I can only envision what she did. But the same is true with just about anything she ever does. I've seen many fine productions of Grand Hotel, but I always remember that early preview when I saw her get up and do the number I want to be a movie star, and she stopped that show dead cold. It just the show did not go on for several minutes. It was like, who is she? Where is she from? We need to know her. The audience lost it.
Juanjo, do you come to America often? Do you fly in? Because you've seen all these shows. I know
Yeah,
She Loves Me was on they recorded that.
From 2005, I've gone like every 2 years. So I've seen
fabulous.
many of them. Yeah.
Good. We're going to do lunch next time you come.
Of course.
Now, I want to include before
I'm
we
back.
forget it.
So,
Oh, God. Did you do that on purpose? Did you do that on purpose? Wait, John, just don't talk. It's lovely that he's vaxxed. Move on. Only because, not because we just move on to your next topic.
Okay. This week, I read the newly released book, Putting It Together. James Lapine, who was the director and the author of the book for this show, brings together as many people as are around who took part in the original production and has all of their memories of how this amazing show was done. Anyone who, like me, saw the original Putting It Together, the original Sunday in the Park with George, just loved the show. It's one of Sondheim's masterpieces. It's utterly different than anything that's been done before or since. And if you've ever wondered how this utterly unique show came to be, read this book. It's not my favorite. I must say, it's not my favorite Sondheim musical, much as I loved it. But I was glued to every page of this book, just glued to it.
I mean, I know there's many, but it's not like up there. I mean, when they all bow at the end to him, and I mean, really, that isn't your favorite?
No, my favorite is, if I had to pick one Sondheim musical as a favorite, it's Sweeney Todd.
Okay, well then my husband would be thrilled with you. But
Sweeney is the one I can see 100 times. I will never get tired of it. I've seen the original, every revival that's been done in New York.
Did you see the last one in the pastry?
Yes. Wait, the one with the food?
Yes.
Right. Yes.
I was in the first row, right next to the actors. They came with a razor. It was like, wow.
Yeah. The show lends itself to so many different stagings. That's the wonder of Sweeney Todd.
Really, Juanjo, again, you only come in every 2 years? It sounds like you're here every 6 months.
Everything.
You saw the off-Broadway of. I mean, that's it ran a long time, but still, you picked something that's a little obscure. In case people don't know, they did Sweeney Todd way off Broadway, and you walked into it is a theater, but it looked more like a cafeteria.
Yeah.
If you ordered ahead of time, you had the pastries and you had all the food, and you're sitting at tables except for a few people, and the actors are literally on top of you. It was a whole immersive kind of experience.
Yeah, it was
with food,
it was first,
real
first
food.
Performed in London, and Cameron Mackintosh saw in a very little bar, like only 20 people could see it. And he transferred it right next to a discotheque that was sat down next to the Queen's Theater, and they opened it, and some New York theater producers went and bought the rights and brought to New York. Now I went to see it because I want to bring that to Madrid.
Oh, go for it, man. Let us know if that happens. That sounds so exciting.
Really, Juanjo, you're killing me. Your knowledge is extraordinary. You're not going to replace me, but nevertheless, your knowledge is extraordinary.
We talked earlier about how maybe the film version of Rent was left something to be desired, and the later on taping of the stage show was more powerful. Well, this week there was a lot of talk because Nick Jonas posted this on Instagram that he's been in Cleveland playing his dream role, Frankie Valli, in Jersey Boys, in what will be a new movie version of Jersey Boys. a lot of people were less than thrilled with
Yeah, it
the
wasn't
big
great.
screen version a couple of years ago. They
Clint
didn't
Eastwood,
feel that it really, many people felt it did not capture the magic of the stage show. So here's hoping, because what an amazing cast. I know that Matt Bogart is in this. They've got good Broadway people backing Jonas up, and Jonas himself has some real Broadway credits. So bravo. I would love to see Jersey Boys get the kind of production the kind of preservation in a video form that it deserves.
Yeah,
so
I didn't get to see
are
him.
looking forward.
I didn't get to see him, but I saw Daniel Radcliffe in How to Succeed in Business. It was that production was magnificent.
Bill knows I feel the same way. It was one of the best revivals ever, and it was probably the only revival I've seen where new choreography was better than the original choreography by no less than Bob Fosse. How do you outclass that? Well, for once they did. It was sensational. And Daniel Radcliffe not getting a Tony was bull. He deserved to at least be nominated.
At least be nominated. It was kind of a weird thing.
Both previous Broadway productions, the one with Matthew Broderick and the one, the original Broadway production, both of those, the lead actor won the Tony Award. Bobby Morse, who was the original. And for Daniel Radcliffe to not even be nominated, what an insult for a sensational performance.
But he was a trooper about it. He did the Tony Awards, the big number.
Folks out there,
sulky.
Yes, folks out there, do a little digging online. You can find him in his he's on some series that I'm not familiar with, but look for Daniel Radcliffe singing right now. You'll find there's a new video online that is hilarious. It is Daniel Radcliffe in an outfit that makes Frankenfurter look subtle. It's hilarious. Now, another event that's coming up, it's been announced that Wicked is going to celebrate its imminent return to the stage by having its original stars, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, hosting a nationwide concert with segments taped all over the country in honor of Wicked's return, both to touring and to Broadway. And it's going to be August 29th on American Public Television. I'm going to be watching. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure, Juanjo, if it's any way to watch it over there, you're going to be watching it too.
Do we have American Public Television? What is that? Is that another one of the pluses?
No, but I will get it anyway,
You'll find a way.
But John, do we have it? What is it? What is it? What channel is that?
It's going to be on a PBS. So channel 13, etc. Yes, channel 21 out by you, Bill. So that is
we get 13 too.
Now, the ugly news this week in theater, and it's got a lot of people just caught off guard, is that the 2020 revival of West Side Story, which was the big event just before COVID shut everything down. It opened in February and COVID closed everything in March of last year, will now not be returning to Broadway.
I'm not happy. I have tickets, or we had tickets for it. 3 times moved. I don't care if it's good or not, and I have a feeling at least it's something good. That I'm not happy. Why'd they close it?
Now, well, we're not totally sure. Scott Rudin was the top producer of this. He, of course, has withdrawn from public life because of all of the controversy about his personal treatment of assistants, etc., which is understandable. But another producer had stepped into his place, the same person who is shepherding the revival of The Music Man now. And they simply decided that even with the $10 million grant that they would have gotten from the federal government to reopen, that it would not be worth trying. Now, this production did.
I don't understand.
Well, the show, it did have mixed reviews.
I don't care. It had good sales.
Apparently, the advance was not all that it was cracked up to be. This is what I've heard from someone.
But John, don't you think now that with a movie coming up, it shouldn't be a good moment to reopen?
You would think. I mean, the movie is going to reignite interest in the show, even among especially among younger people who do not know what West Side Story is. But it's certainly going to make life a lot easier for Steven Spielberg's movie because it doesn't have to stand in comparison to this new. The main complaint that critics and some people, because I didn't get to see it, there wasn't time, but friends of mine who did see it agreed with one critic who said there were times it felt too much like you were watching television or a movie.
With the screens.
Because as you see here, the set consisted primarily of a screen where they showed both taped and live images of the show. And some in black and white, some in color, as you see here. So the video image overwhelmed what was happening physically on the stage. They also improved the show by moving songs around. They removed 2 numbers from it and substantially cut dialogue. There's a review in the New York Times this week. The individual who did Oklahoma a couple of years ago, I don't know if you saw that revival, the one that put Adu Annie in a wheelchair and the whole thing at a picnic with checkered tablecloths, and then it had the nerve to change the ending. Without changing the words, they changed the ending. They turned an accidental death into a cold-blooded murder. Well, that director just did his version of Most Happy Fella up in the Hudson Valley, cut all the dialogue, rearranged the songs, and cut them to interspice them. Worse than anything he did to Oklahoma.
He hasn't read your book, right?
No, he hasn't, apparently. And the New York Times critic, Jesse Green, who I am developing a genuine respect for. Jesse Green is a smart critic, said, I tried to convince myself that it was still a lovely show to see, he said, but my ears said, no, the original show is a musical that uplifts your spirit. This show is one that sucks the other's blood. Whoa.
Wow.
So hopefully that one will not be coming to Broadway anytime soon. Most Happy Fella is one of the most, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Juanjo. It's a glorious, it's Frank Lesser's opera. And it came to Broadway the same year as My Fair Lady. Otherwise, it would have swept the awards. It had the same fate that Chicago had, opening the same year as Chorus Line. But it's always remained caviar. As Shakespeare said, it has remained caviar to the million. Most people don't get it, but people who love musical theater see it, and it's She Loves Me. You just adore it for the rest of your life. I heartily urge you, take a look at that show. I think you might find that one is an interesting one for your future.
I listened to some of the recordings because there's not like a tape. It wasn't videotape or anything. So
there is videotape around of the first revival, which was done on Broadway.
Which you and I saw. Which
we saw. Giorgio Tozzi, who was the voice in the movie version of South Pacific, he was the singing voice of the lead. That Rossano Brazzi did the acting. Well, Tozzi did the singing. Well, he came to Broadway in this revival of Most Happy Fella in the 70s when we were in college. And musically and dramatically, I was just levitating. I loved it. Bill, it's not quite as much his show, but
no, I liked it. Oh no, yeah, I didn't love it. I'm more reacting to the fact that you just said in the 70s when we saw it in college. I went, oh God. But anyway, no, the show is very good. It has great numbers, and that male lead, whose name I can't think of, you do, the younger guy.
The one who played Joe.
Yes.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I know.
Richard Mewins.
Yes. Oof.
Richard Mewins. Oh. Richard Mewins.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Oh, yes, he awoke many a hope in many a heart, and his wife made sure that he was kept at a safe distance for anyone like me.
Standing on the corner, watching all the boys go by. Yes.
Well, Juanjo, thank you so much for taking part in this.
Thank you.
And please keep doing what you're doing. We need you. We need not only you writing about it. We have no way here otherwise of finding out what's going on in Spain. And what I always just here in this country, we convince ourselves, oh, musical theater is an American art form. Bull. It is a world art form. The French, the British, the Austrians were all doing musicals before us, and you guys had something called Zarzuela, which was sensational. Yes. We never get to see any of it over here.
You mentioned that we had Franco. If it wasn't for him, the Zarzuela would have evolved to something closer to musical theater than what is now, because it stayed a stop there, and it's like something ancient, like something very old. So
Right. Yeah, no,
hopefully-
when oppression moves in, musical theater moves out.
that's
That's why there has never been a great Russian musical, why there has never been a great Chinese musical. And I guarantee you right now, there will not be any great Hungarian musicals. There were. Back in another time, there were great operettas that came out of Hungary, and great actors, great performers of many kinds came out of Hungary. But, oh, Lord, when an oppressive regime moves in, musical theater disappears. So thank God Trump's gone. So anyway, thank you so much for being
Someday
here.
we're going to just get through one episode. We were so close.
So close, huh? So close. Juanjo, thank you so much. We would love to have you back sometime. Keep us up to date on what's happening on your side of the pond, okay?
And we'd like your theater passes too, if you get.
Yeah. Let us know when you're coming over here, man, because we'd love to get together, do coffee, do dinner, whatever. It'd be great to actually see you. Thank you so much for joining us in this celebration of someone who's made a life in and out of show business.
Thank you.
Hope to see you all soon. On Thursday, I'm going to be doing another great interview with the gentleman who's right next to me on this screen, with William J.
I don't know
McKay.
why this is so.
We had a great chance to learn about a talented man who has done his own unique version of a life in and out of this art form business of ours. Thank you all so much. See you hopefully Thursday and anytime soon.